to Getting Into Boundary, Part 7. I had to think on that first. This is the one that folks have been waiting for, which is Chaos Reigns. Not really. I mean, mostly we're just going to go through some troubleshooting, what it means to debug Boundary. We're going to play around with things. We might down a worker. I don't know. You know, we'll take some suggestions from chat. I am Rosemary. This is Cole. We've been getting into Boundary the most difficult way possible, which is building it all ourselves. And, you know, just exploring different things about it. As we do, though, we want you to participate. Please do provide your comments, suggestions, questions in the chat. As you do, be welcoming, respectful, and professional. Please follow our community guidelines. We do quite enjoy it when folks provide us suggestions, because sometimes we're like, we don't know what's going on here. And we've gotten some times where it's like, thanks to chat, we've resolved our problems.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like, you know, but it still won't fix the problem as to why Cole will not run Terraform format.
Yeah. And what's funny to me is then I get in like PRs or merges and I'm like, why did this file change, Rosemary? I thought you were just tweaking something. And
and
that's
like,
when she gets me.
I was like, oops, because like I auto format, and so then he's like, what? And I know I should split it, like.
But it's funnier this way.
Custom and tradition dictates that you split your formatting out into a different commit so that people don't get confused. But it's like when you get the auto formatting on, it just doesn't. Anyway, if you missed any part of the series, check it out. We have it at hashi.co/gettingintoboundary. It is on a playlist. So if you missed any of the prior episodes, do go back. You can review them. We've gone through an introduction to Boundary, what are controllers, what are workers, what are hosts and targets. So how do you target an endpoint when you connect into it? We have identity and access management. So we played around with grant strings. How do you make sure that the right people get access to the right target endpoints and not just give everybody access to everything? Mm-hmm. We talked about credentials and how you inject them the last time using the Boundary credentials store, as well as using Vault as a credential store. And today we are, as I said before, we are going to introduce chaos into the system by troubleshooting. Meaning, it's not that much chaos. I
mean, I already had some of the chaos yesterday. That then, you know, what's funny is when I was thinking and I reached a point of frustration, which we'll go into what had to change. I had an escape hatch. I was like, well, there's always an escape hatch. I was like, I'll just ask Rosemary. I was like, yeah. And it worked. The escape hatch, like, literally always works. Like, and then just magically it would fix. Like, okay, if we can just turn you into a binary, Rosemary, that'd be really helpful. You know what I mean? You'd be more scalable.
People have jokingly said that they should funnel some of my, like, debugging into like some LLM somewhere. That's the fancy thing these days, right?
Yeah. User bin Barry. Just saying.
Like that. It's fine. We managed to fix it. So do we need to do a deep recap of last time, Cole, or we pretty much recapped everything from up to this point?
I mean, last time was okay, right. It was all of the grant strings, right? That was
no, it was credentials injection.
So it was credentials injection. Well, good thing. Apparently, we do need to because I don't even.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. A long couple weeks. So we did credentials injection, right? And you had SSH keys, and you were sending them over to me. Not ideal. And so instead of sending them over to me in a very insecure way, which, you know, we kind of still did anyway.
Like insecure, like.
Yeah. Just like you instead put it in the into a credential store, the SSH private key into a credential store, which meant it got injected into the call whenever you went Boundary Connect SSH, right, to some SSH endpoint that you wanted to get into. Very convenient. We also talked about connecting to Vault. So we used the database secrets engine and Vault to generate a read-only user for
Yeah.
Boundary to connect in, and it was injected. No one needed to go copy the username or password, which was very exciting. And so we talked a little bit about that. And today we're just going to go through some troubleshooting, some auditing. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Boundary events and filtering. So when you do need to audit the things that are happening in Boundary itself, not sessions. Session recording is going to be next week. We're dedicating a whole thing to session recording.
Yeah.
So that we could set it up end to end. We're not talking about session recording. We are talking about literally the things that people will do to Boundary, how they connect in, not what they're doing on the machines. So just that's what we're talking about. So we're talking about how do we set that up? How do we make sure we audit those events? How can we filter them so we don't get so much noise? And then maybe we'll fix some workers that have gone down.
Yeah. That would be good because we have acted like they did not go down. I swear I was here at the last stream. I guess I just was an out of body experience because as you were discussing what we did, I was like, oh yeah, we did do that. That was cool.
Well, it was so chill. It was chill.
It was.
For us doing things like not too planned, because everybody, we don't actually plan these like that deeply. We just get enough to like set it up and then we see what happens. Yeah. And so far it's been so like anticlimactic, like when we actually do set these things up, that I think we just forget.
Yeah.
There's no drama to it.
Yeah, because all of our drama was taken care of in our networking series. But so what's changed since the last time? I'm gonna go through what I went through, and then at the point where I just escape hatched to Rosemary here. So I have well, Rosemary just put up the repo up on the screen so you all can check it out. It's got all of our Terraform code getting everything set up that we've used for the stream itself. So if we skip over any details, those details are in there, and we are updating the repo pretty regularly so that you can hopefully, no matter what episode you choose to skip ahead to, if you're like that, you can just Terraform apply and more or less be caught up with us. We're exactly where we are. Now, the whole thing that we went ahead and set up this time was in the config, setting up everything we need to do to check out the different events that go on inside of Boundary. Now, this was a simple config file change that we can step through here in a moment. But what was interesting to me is as I was setting up, my shell kept locking up. I couldn't get anywhere in it. It was very frustrating. To the point to where like I would do Control-C and I still couldn't get out of it. And to preface what then I escape hatched to Rosemary, first off, I could not comprehend that it was anything other than Boundary because I refused to like not look past. I want to point out that I had set up our Boundary controllers on little T3 micros. So let's just preface it with that. At which point I just wrote out a big mind dump and just like, hey Rosemary, like yo. And then I got on today and it was fixed. So Rosemary, you want to tell them what you did?
Yeah, and to preface this for folks who are in the chat, you can drop in the chat your guesses as to what it really was.
Yeah.
Cole already hinted. But you know what? I should put this up. I think this is funny. Okay, hold on.
That's funny.
well, no. If it's like we should actually talk about this because it was like we were debugging. How do I show this without showing a key? Let me just show the error message somehow.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I could do that. Hold on.
Okay.
Stand by, folks. We're gonna open up an app, and then I'm gonna just show the see if I can show the error message at least for folks, so you don't just like you're like, what happened? How do I collapse this in a way that I just want to show the note. You know what? Text edit.
Ah, yes, I see. So she's trying to pull the log that was the hint or the breadcrumb trail to
Okay. All right, there we go. We're gonna make it super big.
Ah,
I'm
yes.
not prepared for this. Okay. All right. So there's like 2 breadcrumb trails, right? Which I was like, okay, there's a couple things going on here, and we should definitely go and address it a little differently. So, The first is this
Yes.
fantastic, lovely log message here. Very descriptive. But it's basically unable to write the system event. And the reason, to preface exactly what happened, Cole was like, oh, let's just we're going to add some config in place that allows us to at least stage some of these events, right? We'll talk about the config itself, but at the very least, then we didn't spend all of our time sitting here being like, is this the right syntax for how we funnel an event? Well, as you can tell in this, it was this error message was basically saying it can't write the event that is related to the GCP plugin, right? Which kind of tells you something, right? If it's not able to write the event, then where's the event going? And the way we originally set it up was that we had all the events going to different files, right? Because there are different syncs that you can set up. Some of them are to standard error. Others are to just plain old files. And we set it up to files. And then when you can't log in to a machine, or something kind of locks up in the process, that's usually a memory issue. And so whenever you started boundary, the system CTL, you would do system CTL start boundary. Basically, there were these error messages that were like killed out of memory. Which then I was like, oh. Basically, when we turned on the system events, we just staged the config. It just kind of ate up all the memory available. And it was doing this on pretty much every controller because we had rolled it across all of the controllers that we had at once. So lesson to be learned. If you do this, comment it out and just be deliberate. Do it one at a time first if you're just trying it out. For us, we were just staging it. We probably should have just commented it out and then gone on stream, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't waste time.
Yep.
And so there are two main things that we did, which I don't know, Cole, if you want to pull up the
Sure. I've got
Terraform.
the files that you have changed. So first up, let me show which files changed. So the controllers, the hosts, the script itself, and then I was like, why did you change the VPC?
The host didn't get changed. The host was formatted. The VPC.tf was also formatted. Just run Terraform format before commit. That's
okay,
all.
so it was mainly just the
Sorry.
controller. All right, so
This does this I think we do this every time too. Cole
Yeah.
is like, Rosemary, there are a million changes. What are you doing? I'm like, oh, sorry, I just auto formatted. It's like, we really have to get better at it, but that's okay.
So let's start with the controller then. What changed here?
Okay, so important thing, if you scroll up to the AWS instance, I didn't touch the security groups, but the important thing is line 10, instance type.
Oops.
We were running on T3 micros. They are very small.
Yeah.
They're very small. And we are writing, just for the sake of example, today we're writing to standard error, which means it goes to the system events, and that means that it's basically writing a lot of these logs into tempfs, right? So if you're not familiar with Linux, that's okay, but the idea is that this stuff isn't going to persist over time, right? If I reboot the instance, it will be all gone, so that's why it's writing to a buffer that it's, sort of temporary, right? And so to give it a little bit more memory, I had to choose a memory optimized instance. So this is the smallest memory optimized instance that seemed very reasonable, at least for the sake of this. Now, going forward, if you are going to do this, you might want to do something else, which is line 15 to 27. Line 15 to 27, if you're running on any instance, for that matter, whether it be any virtual machine, on Azure, etc., you'll want to mount a separate device or a separate volume for writing these to a file, right? Now, there are different ways that you can ingest audit logs, ingest event logs, right? You could say that I'm going to ingest them by some kind of file stream, or I'm going to ingest them by some kind of sending to a log aggregator somewhere. Boundary, as in sort of the two formulations, offers standard error or a file, so a file stream. So file stream it is, right? And so you do have to allocate some volumes that are likely dedicated to those logs. You can set up log rotation, so not a big problem. But you can set up log rotation. And then you can also set up the sort of like the deletion of logs, right? So you can set these things up in boundaries config so that you don't have these devices these volumes overflowing, right? But just for the sake of example today, we didn't set any rotation because we wanted to show just what logs are in existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a block device that is mounted at, it's not mounted here, but basically device name is dev.sdf. And then what you also have to do is update the template, not the template file, the script, the user data script.
And this is where we had the event side right here.
So really what we should have done is probably commented out line 116 to 143. Or 144. Really, what we should have done is probably should have commented it out here and then just like done this live on the stream. But we wanted to make sure we showed something somewhat working. Otherwise, we would be sitting here and we didn't know how. We wanted to do a little bit of troubleshooting, so why not? But this is the configuration for turning on every event related to Boundary, and there are many of them. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the Boundary events docs so that folks can actually check out the list of events, and I will post it as a comment, so that way we have it. But
so there are 4 different event types. Those are the observation, system events, telemetry, and audit. Looks like the only ones we're sending to files though are the audit ones, right?
Yeah, it was just so many events. Yeah, there's just so many.
Yeah, there were.
So when you are configuring Boundary and you're configuring controller, you have the ability to turn on certain events, right? This is using cloud events format, including observation events, audit events, sys events, and telemetry and audit events, right? So all of these are something you can optionally turn on or turn off, depending on, how you feel. You may choose that. Yeah, well, it's true. You may choose that it's just not it's not worth your time to do observations, right? So observations are basically like.
Oops. Nope. Go ahead.
Okay. Observations are like changes to auth methods, things like that, right? System events tend to be around are the workers connecting to the controllers? Telemetry is around metrics, of course. And then audit is about access, who accessed Boundary when, right? So you may decide, I don't really care about sys events that much, right? Whether or not workers connected to the controller, I'll be able to see that. I'll be able to debug that. Or if you say observations, I don't really care that someone changed or that an auth method got changed or, whatever. You could also just say false, right? You could do all of these things, right? But at the end of the day, you might find that you turn all of them on and they all go to different sinks, right? And that's what sinks are down there. When you configure a sink, there are 2 types. There is standard error and there are file sinks in Boundary. Standard error, the first one is standard error, and we're sending all events to it. That's why there's a wild card for event types. Yeah, very exciting. I think the more exciting thing is the format, which is you get the cloud events JSON format, you get the cloud events text format, or you can do HCL log text, right? So you do have options on what kind of format you like, especially if you want something more readable, maybe you'll do HCL log. If you did something funnel this to some log aggregator somewhere like Splunk, and you've got an HCL log, you're looking at HCL logs there, and you're parsing information and indexing things out of it, then you can use that format. Alternatively, you can use the cloud events JSON, which is not very readable on the machine itself, but much easier to index if you're sending it to a log aggregator somewhere. And you're indexing by JSON. So you have options. We're just sending a certain portion of the logs to the file because, like I said, I didn't want to mount 20 volumes that were massive.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just to show how much I was hammering our poor little T3 micros, there were originally 4 sync stanzas in here for all of the events. So there was a lot.
Yeah. And a little note, there's a deny filter there, 135 to 137. What I didn't mention was that when you have boundary events, you have the ability to filter those events. So just because you say like there's an audit, I want to turn on auditing and I want to turn it on across the board, maybe that's a little noisy. Like you don't want something about server coordination service because, I don't personally need it to debug.
I don't even know what that does.
It's basically whether or not the boundary servers are connecting to each other and how they're coordinating. And it gets pretty noisy in there. So I usually take it out. So that's why I have a deny filter. You also have allow filters, which basically allows certain kinds of log messages to go through, right?
So if you turn on an allow filter, does that by default deny everything else?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So let me put a link to filtering events because folks are asking for links from the last time. So this is if you're looking for filters, events, things like that. These are things that you'll configure. I don't know, Cole. Maybe we'll set up another deny filter or something to show like we can cut off certain things, but it would require restarting a controller.
Yep.
And also, there are options that you have if you just want it to be less noisy overall, right? But you do have to be deliberate about looking at what events are where, right?
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And then let me think. Oh, yes. Again, if you're mounting a volume, of course, set permissions on the volume. And so for those who are lost in like what is going on, if you scroll down, Cole.
Which one?
Here. Yeah.
160.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, 160. And 165. So to 165. You do have to mount the volume. Just because you set up an EBS volume in AWS doesn't mean it just mounts it for you. You have to tell it where to go. So you do have to mount it, and then you have to change ownership of it to whoever's the user and group for the systemd, the systemd unit that you're running. So in this case, it's boundary. So I change group to boundary, and I make sure that everybody can rewrite to it. That everybody in the group can rewrite and execute on it. So that's some of the biggest changes. I know it doesn't seem like that many changes, but it's that's
the art of this art, right? Is you spend forever figuring out like 2 lines worth of changes. But
I think this originally took me 2 days. Yeah, I think this took me 2 days. So and I had it all, so I just was like, oh yeah, it's running out of memory. Here we go. So we've increased, we scaled up our instances pretty significantly, so hopefully we don't get locked out.
Yep. All right. With that, I guess we should probably show what the events look like. Yeah. All right.
Now let's take a look at these events.
So that is, let me get this off screen here so I can still see what's happening, everything else wise. We should then hop into one of the actual controllers.
Yeah.
Choose
a controller.
All right. Choose a controller. So let me get into one of the control. I should probably. Okay, there you go. Now I will say. So I'm just going to hop into one of the controllers here, which requires me. Oh my. 1 second. I have to doormat things real quick.
For those who are wondering, it's because we have to log in separately through our own authentication system.
1 second. Let me see if I. Oh, nice. I was still logged in. Yay. Okay.
Anyway, yes, and to address some questions from last time, if you are commenting in the chat and things are not going through, I apologize. Not all things go in through the chat for some reason. I think YouTube was not working at some point. LinkedIn sometimes doesn't show all of the it doesn't show all of the comments. So if you're missed or we don't mention it, it's mostly because we don't see it. It's not coming in. So just hold on. We will respond after the stream is over if we can't see it now.
I am in one of the boundary controllers.
Nice. Okay. So just to prove that it's running boundary, if you can just do system.
Ooh, yeah,
System control.
Yeah, I should probably do it in the shell and not in StreamYard.
No, I mean, I guess fine. And yeah, okay. So you'll notice, okay, we might have to sudo a bit because there's already log messages.
Yes. But I think these are from earlier when it was getting set up, or
Yeah,
actually-
it's from getting set up, which is, that's fine.
Okay.
I think journal control is probably better,
Right.
just to show, because that's so many of them.
Yep. Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot happening.
Yeah, there's a lot
constantly.
happening. There's just, look at that. It's just,
That's a lot.
it's a lot going on. Okay, so first thing is you may use a TLS handshake error. That's partially because we're using self-signed certs.
Yep. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, so because we're using self-signed certs, it's a little upset with us.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we've got, let's see, who else we've got. Oh, we've got an audit event here. We've got observation event. Oh,
Can I just
my
point out that
goodness.
this key ID is amazing? Shush,
Yeah.
basil, polygraph, smuggling, praising, herring, lustily, dragster.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and we've got some more on the service coordination service right there.
Yeah.
And this is all in text, right? So you're not seeing too many. The JSON is coming in because part of this is like it's coming from standard out.
Yep.
But in terms of standard error, which is coming from the rest of it, it's all coming in HCL log.
Yeah, because you can
yeah.
see some of the JSON ones, but then you can see the normal HCL log here.
Yeah, so you'll also notice that there's like some interesting ones, like the worker status is, let's see, downstream workers, public ID is calculated, the worker's handshake, the worker is doing something here. Yeah, so, unmapped workers. So, there's a lot going on. We could probably filter this a little bit more, but let's check out the audit logs. If you do... tail the var log boundary audit.log
Okay.
or audit.json or something.
What's the command for that? Is
Tail
it
dash F. We could just
tail
follow
dash
along.
F, and then do I need to, since the var log is I'm
Yeah.
EC2 user, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
sudo it, right? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
This? Okay.
Yep.
Stuff.
Okay. So this is even worse because it's got all of the JSON in it,
Yeah.
that's why like I said, this is great for if you're aggregating logs somewhere. It's
Hey,
not
look,
great
I can see the
for.
grain string.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the audit log, right? So this is also, keep in mind, we funneled all audit events into standard error, but this is just audit events. So that means like if Cole, you go in and you log in to Boundary right now, you will actually see this pop up, right? So
Do you want me to do that?
no, you know what? Actually, I will do it.
Oh, right, because you've got the Rosemary. login.
Yeah, I've got my Auth0 login.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to log
Hey.
in, and you should see the ginormous thing pop up of Hold on, I gotta pull up the password. Yeah. So I would say that this is one of those things that you probably would do. You would send to some security information and events logging, monitoring tooling. You probably wouldn't really. I think it already went in.
Did it?
Yeah, I think it did. There we go.
Wait, did it go? I mean, I can't tell because it redacts the stuff, so we
Oh
can't.
yeah, it redacts it all.
Yeah, it
Well, that's a
redacts
bit
all of
interesting.
it. I mean, I guess it should give the time stamp.
Should I give the
Actually,
time?
question, depending upon... Oh, wait, this is a question, because we have 3 controllers, right?
Oh,
so,
that's true.
So wait, does this log for all or just this controller?
Just this controller.
So there's a chance that message is on one of the other ones. then,
Yeah, it's probably on one of the other ones.
Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately. But hey, the point is that anything that anybody does, you aggregate across those 3 controllers. Thus, you will get some information about it.
Because you would send these logs from all the controllers just one location, ideally.
Yeah, exactly. But you'll see like there's like auth method and a user ID. So the auth method is 3E. So someone went in with an admin. That's
may or may not be me.
that's probably you. So you can tell by auth method ID, right?
Yeah.
AMPW, so that's password. And then user ID is SV7 SB. That's Cole there. So
Yeah. Which, by the way, I can probably show this on the screen, right? I can show like under the auth method.
Yeah.
Here is that ID, the 3
Yeah.
EU2, and then for the user, the admin had this
Yeah.
SV guy.
Exactly. So the point is that if you are turning this on, you do have the ability to update and change and figure out what events you want. You could also just say, give me all events related to auditing. And then that's that. What else can we do? Do we want to put a filter in? I don't know. Do we want to see a filter?
We can.
We can. Or we could turn things off and just, but then we have to restart a controller. So I don't know how
Yeah.
I feel about that.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, we could do something else while the controller restarts, but we can't because we need the controller. So
Yeah, we need the controller. Okay, well, anyway, so for folks who are tuning in and you're like, okay, well, this is what it is. Where does it go from here?
Yep.
You'll ingest this log file. Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to. The format is you can format it in JSON, index on it, and that will give you information on who's logging into Boundary, events that are happening between workers and controllers, system events like maybe the plugin crashed, a plugin like a dynamic host plugin crashed. All these things are where you can actually funnel all this information and debug more on what's going on. Now, we are actually going to debug because we have a couple workers that just don't work. So we should probably jump into the workers that don't work.
Okay. Yeah. So here's a question that I have. Do I need to set up, because I know that's a common parameter, to get the logs of the workers? Do we need to add the event stanzas to the actual workers themselves?
I believe we do.
Okay, that's what I thought. But did the controllers get any events from the workers?
They'll get worker registration events. So
okay,
if a worker's
so
trying to
that'll be
register
good.
to the controller. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I should probably then leave up just the base logs here? Okay.
Yeah, you can leave out the base logs. I mean, we could set up logging. We could set up events on the workers as well, right? Like there's nothing. Okay. I mean, we could set it up. Unfortunately, it just means maybe a little bit of time waiting for them to initialize. But given that, we're fixing some of them anyway, we could just copy this, increase the size from T3 micros.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't the worker registration should pop up on all of the controllers, right? Because it has to register with all of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you say we start with the worker-led one instead of the controller-led one?
Yep.
Does that work? Okay.
Shit, sounds good.
Because I know we have to do that one from here through the UI. So let's see. Let me first make sure that worker's even alive.
So some background. We've been running everything through the KMS worker. Well, let's be honest. Okay. Let's be honest. You'll notice that we have a bit of an issue. 2 of our workers are just down. Like you don't see IP addresses with the controller-led worker, which is on the top. And then the third worker has no IP address because it is just somehow deregistered itself.
Yes.
Or something. Like either it went down and then it never got re-registered. KMS is automated, so it just like reconnects itself. But the sequence for worker-led or controller-led is a little bit more challenging. You do have to disconnect to deregister yourself, right?
Yes. So for the worker-led one, I think, can we just edit this guy, or do we have to
I don't know. We'll see.
I think we have to redo it because this is not letting me. I just clicked edit and I can't edit the address.
Because it's worker-led.
Yeah, so we have to kill
manage.
this one.
If you do manage. Yeah, I would just, at this point, it's like you just remove the worker because it was worker-led, right? Which meant the worker was registering up to the controller, right?
Yeah.
And here's something to be said. We talked about this, about worker-led in the first place. It's like, you got to clean up the workers that didn't really deregister themselves.
Yep.
So
This is the one that requires some, I mean, there's some ways to work around it. They're not the most elegant, but this is the one that does kind of require a bit of manual. So, all right, well, let's get this worker registered here. So let me go ahead and put this in. We got this guy. I don't remember where we put that path. Where
that's
did we
fine.
put that?
I don't think it.
I think we put it in etsy.boundary.d. Is that what we put in there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's just go that guy. And then the upstreams were the IPs of the into each controller, correct?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and throw these bad boys in here now that they're.
No. Hold on. We had a config for the boundary worker, didn't we?
Nope. Not for the worker led. For the controller and KMS, you went yes, but for this one, yeah, we did not.
Strange.
So.
Okay.
Let me add all of these. Let's just take a second. And then the final one.
The more you know.
Did we add tags? I can't remember.
We added some tags just to identify it. So
Yeah.
just to say it's,
What do we call this?
we could
Type.
call this worker led. Yeah, type worker led. So we
Type.
can tell it apart.
Yes. Worker.
Worker led.
Okay. And then this
All right.
is the other stuff.
Yeah, so now we have to put this into the worker HCL.
Yes. So let's go do that. Oh, now I've got to hop into that guy. Let me get into this worker-led worker.
I mean, I was going to suggest you put it in Terraform.
Oh, and actually run the whole thing through?
Yeah.
I mean, I can, but there's still the chicken and egg problem that we would have to deal with.
No, I mean, technically, you would just get the public address from the metadata, EC2 metadata. And then the controllers, right? You could pass in from the controller, like, because you output the IP addresses of the controllers, right?
Right. So that's not the part that we have to chicken and egg is when the worker first reaches out to get the auth registration.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we would have to come. But I mean, we're just right here.
Okay. Yeah.
So let me. Well, actually, here we go. We can just go straight to the worker because they have to be. All right. So let's touch this guy.
I mean, we could also just look at one log. We could also do one controller.
Oh yeah. Do you want to? Since we're gonna be in here, do you want to just add the events?
Yeah, we could.
Well,
we that's what I was saying. We might as well just add the events.
Do you think it'll kill it? Do you think it'll have enough resources? I mean,
you'll be fine. No, it will not be fine. So let's not add the event. I have a sneaking suspicion it will probably crash it.
Okay.
Although it would be good for people to see, so maybe we do that. We'll sacrifice the worker.
We could like turn it on and then sacrifice it after, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay.
Okay.
So that's there.
Which controller are you currently in for logs?
I am in the.
Oh, 221. Okay, so we'll get it first. Okay, so we're good.
Okay, so I've got that there. We've already got boundary installed. So now I just need to start it. And this should give us the ensure base directory already exists.
Sudo. I think you have to update the systemd file too.
I think you're right.
Oh well, it started.
Well, now it's because I've got to get the worker registration.
Yeah, so you gotta get that token.
This guy.
That lovely token.
Register successfully added, and then now it should stop. Yeah, now it's all there. So if we click done, that means we should see that registration event somewhere, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's see. We've got a authorized downstream worker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is connected worker. This
Yep,
is hard to read.
Here's the authorized downstream worker. Here's
Yeah,
the
there you
addresses,
go.
the
Yeah.
worker ID. Ah, so there's the ID.
Yep, is that the correct A2Q? No, we're looking for RX. Where's RX in the logs? You can journal CTL-U grep RX, I think.
All right.
Grep or whatever that might not help us.
Oh, because it's trying to follow it, right?
Yeah. -U. You could just do -U, and then you want that whole worker ID, because otherwise
so
RX will never funnel anything.
Oh, there it is. Well, maybe.
No, because
that's just random
that's
RX.
the HMAC. Go and copy the whole ID, the whole worker ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoop.
So let's see if it indeed registered on here. If not, then maybe we don't have it added. But
Yeah, there it is.
oh, there we go. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Oh, goodness. Okay, so it calculated the upstream, right? So we've got a couple different events. Important thing to note is that you'll notice there's a request info, and it has the controller server services. That's the API call, as well as the request status and the key ID. And so it's saying operational state active. So these are some, useful events. There's an audit event. So that's an audit event for the worker the worker joining.
Oh,
there is an observation event.
Ah, here we go.
Yeah, as well. In which it is, again, similarly just saying a worker has decided to register itself. And so then you get all this information here. If it doesn't successfully do it, I guess we would show inactive.
Yep.
So we could try, but it would effectively just not register.
Nice. Oh, yeah. And so we've got those just going to standard out, but those are ones that we could have, for example, put into a different file. Actually, the audit events should be.
Yeah, we could look at the audit events. Yeah, look at the audit events. You should see some.
Audit events. Internal.
Pretty messy.
It is, but I think.
Like I said, grepping for the worker ID.
Okay, let's just.
You could just tail it. I don't think you even need to. Or yeah, you could do the whole thing.
Yeah.
We didn't rotate the logs on
it.
Wait,
boundary. Tree audit log, and then what was that ID?
I think you still have it on your clipboard.
Here you go. Nothing apparently.
Oh.
Huh. Maybe the audit one's here only for.
Oh right, deny. That's right. That deny. Can you pull up that controller config again?
This.
Oh yeah.
Guy.
Yeah. So remember how I said I put this originally because I didn't want on my audit logs, I didn't want to know when workers registered. I just wanted to know when someone actually changed something on the controller.
Oh, right.
So you notice when it says data request info method contains server coordination service.
Yeah.
When a worker registers, it's using the API method server coordination service. So the audit log file is denying any event that's happening that's related to server coordination service, in which a worker is part of server coordination service. A service API call, in which that's why it's not going to the audit log.
Nice. Well, that works out then.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can fix controller LED, right?
I think we should wait on that one because there was still that underlying issue that I have not sorted out. If you know what I'm talking about.
Permissions?
Well, it was more the format around the actual, which guy was it? It's actually the format around the way that we were using the generated activation token. So it was the fix that Van threw over to me yet. I just haven't implemented yet.
Yeah.
So it would be, we could do it, but we have 13 minutes and I'm not sure that the fix would actually persist. So
Okay.
yes. Just being honest.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Why don't we decide to take this worker down and see what happens with the logs.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Because this worker, it came up, but you're not running it in the background. Like you're running it as a process itself, right?
Yep. So I
So
should just be able
let's
to kill
just
it, right?
stop it. Yeah. If we stop it, what's going to happen? Do things, does it get upset with us? Like, what is it going to do?
Alrighty.
Someone asked where's the link to watch the entire series. And we popped it up on the screen and we dropped it in the chat as well. And I think somehow YouTube is not accepting chats again. I don't know what's going on. My apologies. We're going to see if we can get that sorted. Somehow some things are coming in and some things are not.
All right, so I killed it. What event am I looking for here to see it go down? Oh, are you still there?
I was coughing. Okay.
Oh, I was like, I didn't have it on screen.
I'm
I was
trying
like,
not to
wait.
cough and like make everybody's like ears. All right, let's see. It should say there's like something going on where the timer, the worker, is no longer active.
Oh, right.
Shut down. Yeah. So here we go. So see that worker ID?
What do you say?
So operational state shut down.
Shut down. Oh, yes, right here. Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, there we go.
So it did detect that something has shut down. So the result is now it's no longer there. Unfortunately, it means that it's still hanging out, I think, in the
UI.
So if you pop it up in the UI.
Let's see here. It'll probably just tell us it was last seen, a minute ago, which is when I shut it down. So
right. Yeah, exactly. So this back and forth is, you'll see it go up, down, right? So these are things that you may or may not want to alert on. I don't know if you would necessarily want to alert on everything going on with a worker. But, you might want to collect these messages just because workers tend to be pretty critical, especially if someone's connecting to an endpoint.
Yeah, that's true. That would be helpful to know. So.
Yeah. Are you able to SSH into a session, start a session? Cool. Should be able to. Yeah, let's start a session. Since we're not going to do fix the controller LED thing, let's SSH into a machine or like connect by a database or something.
Yes, we need to be in here for the events though, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get out of here and SSH into this one because I need the environment variables in the other session and I don't want to re-export all of them again. Okay, then let me get into that controller. So it'll just take a second. All right, we are back in the controller there. And now I am authenticated here, so it's boundary connect SSH or boundary SSH connect?
Boundary connect SSH.
Yes, so now let's go find a target. Well, I guess I need to go into the actual project first. And which target would you like to connect to? Would you like GIB database? Would you like the KS node?
Let's see. I guess we haven't connected to the database. It probably doesn't work, but we'll see. It would be good if it doesn't, so we actually see some log messages on it.
Okay, so let's let me go ahead and I guess we'll authorize session.
Aha! Okay, so this is interesting. Vault unable to create a Vault client. So it looks like there's an invalid configuration that somehow came up probably when we reconfigured everything.
The controllers.
The controllers. So, now that we know this, though, let's see if we can find something in the logs that gives us a little more information, or if it just doesn't appear. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
Okay. What do you think I should search for specifically in this one?
Let's look for the target. So, let's look for the target.
Yep, there we go. So here it was.
Okay. Oh, this is so
lot. This This is
So
very
dense.
dense whole thing.
So
Yeah.
dense. So there's an audit event,
Yeah.
and then we've got some grants related
yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
It was admin went in and tried to access it. Very interesting. And then the authorized session came back with a request code 500, response status code 500, kind of in the middle of that. You got to go past all the grant strings.
Yes, this is an interesting discipline in my eyes here. I'm gonna believe you that that's there.
Yeah, there's no line number, so there you go. Response status code. You just hovered over it. But yeah, so clearly something has gone wrong. This information is there. Let's go up and see if there's anything more useful. Maybe there's not. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, here's the actual error itself. The invalid parameter targets.
Some kind of invalid parameter.
Yeah.
With Vault, the way Vault was configured.
Yeah.
I guess the token could have also expired too, but I think it would have probably gave us a 403.
Yeah, that's true.
It just says invalid parameter.
Because I have not refreshed. Actually, no, we passed it the refresh token. Because right in that original.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do we want to try just real quick connecting to a different target to see if at least some of them are working? Okay.
Yeah, the SSH one is probably working.
Yes.
This one could very well be that we just need to update something on the Vault side. So.
Yeah. Whoops. Target D equals this guy, which was the same one. And yes, we can still connect here. So that's good.
All right, so let's take a look at what it did.
Okay, let me go grab the new target ID. Actually, I still have it in the clipboard. So, oh my goodness, this is so much text. Okay, so here's here's the one that did work.
Yep.
So the audit events.
Yep. So you'll notice it does have the whole list of grant strings, the whole hierarchy of it. It tells you the connection at the top, sort of like observation event. It tells you that it connected to it. There's a no connection limit. It does say that there are credentials source. Oh, there's no store ID. So this one doesn't have a store connected to it, right? So helpful to know. It also has session ID, right? So you can track down the session ID.
Nice.
And which user connected to it.
Nice.
So, these are things that you could read live in the user interface. But if you are expecting, a high volume of people coming in, making changes or connecting in, right, you aggregate this information and you send it. To me, observation events kind of overlap with audit events, so you may be more selective with one or the other. You may just decide to send all audit events anyway to some kind of log aggregator. And parse based on that.
Nice.
And then in terms of like what is important, maybe if it's unauthorized, like notify on response status code 403s if someone's trying to get in. Like that's the easy one to monitor for. But some of the other ones might include like if workers are out, you have some issues with credential store, right? The credential store not being set up correctly. Also something to consider. So there are many different approaches to this.
Nice. But this is your center for information in terms of what's going on. So
yeah, there you go. All right, we're coming up to the top of the hour.
Yep.
Cole, your thoughts? More chaos? We could do more chaos, but I don't know if we'd have time for more chaos.
Yeah. I mean, it's still really useful. The pattern that we pulled up is something that you would want day to day, right? I mean, everything from seeing, like we saw the audit events, who's logging in, right? Who's doing the stuff there. Sure, we can see that live in the UI, but if we have a centralized dashboard where we're aggregating other metrics, it's a lot easier to synthesize that into a decision. And then, of course, the workers. If there's no workers, how the hell are you going to connect? So it's really useful to understand their status and all sorts of other stuff. So, and honestly, the config is pretty simple, right? It was, aside from us understanding the sizing of instances, once that all got set up,
Yeah.
configuring it wasn't too bad. Yeah.
And overall, like for those who are sort of tuning in and being like, well, like, this is like, what are the common error messages? There is a troubleshooting guide in documentation on some common error messages, right? So it will tell you like permission denied or preconditions, failed workers. And these are the most common ones that are available, right? And including the vault. Yeah, there you go. Although I don't think that's the same one. So, but anyway, so you'll find a list of common error messages, what they look like. You can check out if they are going to be helpful. In terms of like the most common things, is networking, right? Make sure you have connectivity between your developer's machine and then up to the worker. So that's important. If the worker goes down, that is, unfortunately, it's something that you'll have to debug and figure out. That's why you have a pool of workers. And, we know troubleshooting is very challenging to begin with. So if you have thoughts, other perspectives on how to make troubleshooting, especially with Boundary, much easier, we want to hear about it. Let us know. I think chat is working again. So let us know if you have any tips or tricks for troubleshooting Boundary, or if there are things that you're like, I would like for this to be easier and better. Yeah. All right. So let's wrap up. We did a little bit of troubleshooting, or at the very least, we pointed out where you're going to find events, how you can filter on them. At the end of the day, you're just going to have to do quite a bit of backtracking, which is unfortunate.
But it's part of it.
Yeah, that's how we dealt with it before.
Yeah.
And there is more, right? So we just showed a portion of audit capability within Boundary, and these are the things that are happening in the Boundary cluster itself. But next week, we're going to show HCP Boundary. So if you're not familiar, Boundary is available as a cloud offering. And there are additional features that are available through the cloud offering that are not available through Community Edition. And one of them is session recording, which is a commonly asked for, pretty commonly asked for security requirement for our folks who are trying to audit their enterprise. They want to check and make sure that whoever is logging into those machines, they have an audit log of what commands are being executed. So we're going to go through session recording from scratch. We're not going to bypass much other than maybe set up an S3 bucket so we don't have to wait for people don't have to wait for us to create the S3 bucket on stream. But we will alter permissions and things like that, and do that so that folks do understand how to initially set it up. And then we'll show a couple things about session recording, and we'll run through how that looks. So, yeah, 1 whole hour on session recording.
Nice.
Yeah. Anything else I missed, Cole? Not again.
Yeah. Well, you didn't miss it, so I guess we didn't miss anything. Yeah.
Okay, we did miss anything. We'll get the Boundary B. Right. Thanks for tuning in. Our next stream is April 17th.
Yes, it's a bit from now.
Yeah, it's a bit from now. Yeah. We
Actually, it's the same amount from now.
It's the same amount. The only one that's a little bit off is going to be the last stream, which we're going to talk about transparent and multi-hop sessions. That will be May 8th because Cole will be at conferences. So.
All right. Well, job well done.
Yeah, we did it. All right, everybody. Join us on the next one. We're going to be talking about session recording, and then we'll finally wrap the last Boundary stream on transparent and multi-hop sessions. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.